Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm here today to share with you my first TBR of the year for January of 2024. So happy New Year to all of you. It is such a feeling of optimism to put out a TBR at this time of year because you just have the whole year ahead of you. Anything for me, it feels like the time of year with the least amount of pressure on my TBR, which I'm always always makes me kind of giddy and happy. So yeah, so that being said, I kind of was a little bit random about my TBR this month. And again, I think that was because I wanted to be really relaxed about it. I didn't want to put any pressure on myself for any particular reason. And so you'll see that, I think, by what I've chosen to read. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Lewis Man by Peter May. I'm almost done this book. I started it just a few days before the end of the year. I didn't count it in my 2023 reading. I didn't put it on Goodreads or anything. I didn't until January 1st because I didn't want it to count towards my stats for 2023. So this is the second book in a trilogy of the Black House series by Peter May. These are crime procedural mysteries set in the Isle of Lewis and the Hebrides off of Scotland. And this follows Finn MacLeod, who was a detective in the first book, and then the second book he's made some life changes, and the mystery follows a family friend of Finn's whose identity comes into question. And yeah, that's all I'm going to tell you about it now. You can learn more about it in my wrap up later. So for the rest of my books for January, it's quite a mixture of things. The audiobook that I've chosen to listen to is a novel called The Painted Girls by Cathy Marie Buchanan. And this is a novel that centers around one of the models for Edgar Degas, who's a very famous painter, one of the Impressionists, or part of the Impressionist group. He painted a lot of ballerinas. And so this is a novelization of the experiences of one of his ballerina models. And so I'm excited to check this one out. And I love to read, of course, fiction. If you're new here and you don't know this, I love to read fiction centered around artists because I am an artist myself. And so it's kind of my area of, it's a niche that I like to fit into with my reading. And so I'm excited to listen to this one and see if I like it or not. And the other novel that I'm reading in January is The Diver's Clothes Lie Empty by Vendela, Vida. So this is kind of an interesting one. I have a library list where I have a 4-layer shelf. Basically, the library interface allows you to create shelves. So my 4-layer shelf is huge. It has just under 500 books on it, and I try to keep it always just below 500. I don't want to go over 500. One of the problems with this list is that I will put books on there, and at the time, I'm excited to read them. For whatever reason, I heard about it somewhere on a podcast, on Instagram, on YouTube. A friend recommended it, whatever. And then sometimes because the list is so large and there's pages and pages of books, I forget why they're on there. And so this is one of those books. I have no idea where I heard about this book. I don't remember putting it on this list. And so one of my goals for this year, which I am going to make a separate reading goals video, but I'll just talk about that one here, is that I'm going to go through this list and just pick kind of randomly because I think that the list is too large. It's obviously too large for me to manage. And a lot of the times I put these books onto the list, they sit there for years. And then by the time I'm ready to read them, the library has taken them out of circulation, which has happened quite a few times. So I don't want that to happen again. And like I said, I don't remember why this was on here. So I'm going into reading this with a very relaxed attitude. If I don't like it, I'm just going to DNF it and move on to something else. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for with this project, is to just go to the later pages, books that I've had on this list for years, check them out of the library, start reading them. If I love them, great. If I don't, moving on to the next book. So that being said, The Diver's Clothes Lie Empty is a novel following, I don't know if they say the name of the main character in this, but basically it's a woman who's traveling to Casablanca, Morocco on mysterious business. She arrives there and then promptly has her passport, her wallet, everything about her stolen. And she is then left in this kind of, you know, scary spot of not having her things. And she doesn't think that she feels that the hotel and the police are kind of not being honest and not actually investigating very well. But she also sees this as an opportunity to reinvent herself and kind of recreate who she is. And so it's a literary psychological thriller, which I have to say, I don't read very often. And so again, not exactly sure why I even put this on the list, but I am excited to give it a try, see if I like it. It's apparently a really good combination of a travelogue, slow burn mystery, and a full body tale of a runaway. So I think that sounds good. So I will see if I like it. And so I think in terms of novels, that's it for now. There are a couple other novels that I'm working on for a reading blog that I am going to add in if I get through these quite quickly. And I seem to be in a reading mode right now, certainly with the Lewis Man I have been, so I'm hoping that that's going to continue. I also picked out Wayside Sang by Cecily Nicholson. This is a poetry collection, a Canadian poet. I believe she is from Vancouver or currently lives in Vancouver. And so I want to read more poetry this year. So I thought I would just start off the year with a poetry collection, and we'll see how that one goes. So I have some other books in January that I'm going to be reading that are primarily research-based. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to be reading them cover to cover. This Golden Fleece, A Journey Through Britain's Knitted History by Esther Rutter, or Rutter. This is for a specific artist residency proposal that I'm going to be writing mid-January. So I wanted to get a bit more history of Scotland and its relationship to wool. And so I have got this book from the library now. The other book that I have that is going to be on hold and hopefully coming available in January is The Lost Flock by Jane Cooper, which is also a memoir, I believe. And then the other one that I have ordered from Blackwell's in the UK is Warm Covers by Janet Ray. And this one is about the history of cloth and such in Scotland. So I'm very excited to get this one. This was not available at my library, not available in Canada basically, so I had to order it from the UK. And so those three books are very specific to this project that I'm working on. So like I said, I might read them cover to cover if they're interesting and I feel compelled to, or I might just dip in and out of them for research. The other book I'm reading with my son Elliot is An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Chris Hadfield. This is a really interesting combination of memoir of his time as an astronaut combined with some life advice that he's garnered over the years through his experiences of being an astronaut. And then this one, Women in the Picture, What Culture Does with Female Bodies by Catherine McCormack, is going to be the first Thrive Together Network book club pick for 2024. Our conversation date on this is February 16th. I just decided to take it out from the library so that I would have it to start when I see fit. But I most likely will be reading this at the end of January, heading into February, because February is when we're having our discussion date. So that is my January TBR so far. I have a feeling this year that I may not have huge TBRs. I never really do anyway, but my TBRs might be a little bit more fluid this year than they have been in the past. I'm kind of excited about that. I'm kind of excited about letting them be a little bit less rigid and kind of reading a bit more on whims and dipping in and out of books if that's how I feel. So that is my TBR for January. I will be making a video about my reading statistics and reading goals for 2024. And I will also be making a video about my 2 specific TBRs. So I made my 5-star prediction video, which is already out, which you can watch now. I'm going to be making one about wrapping up my Reading Across Canada challenge. And I'm also going to be making one about a new little reading project that I have created for myself for 2024 that will be coming soon. And I will be back again soon with another video. Thank you so much for watching.